story time of attending the Grammys. Well, the Grammy dress rehearsal, which was amazing. And this wouldn't be an Audrey story if I didn't wrap in some manifestation techniques that I use to get myself there so that you too can make your way to center stage of your goals. So I got to back up a little bit before I jump into how the day went, because I feel like this really needs a bit of a setup. So to attend anything Grammy related, you need to be a member of the Recording Academy. And in order to be a member of the Recording Academy, you have to be a full-time recording artist with credentials and recommendations and proof that this is your full-time thing in the industry, or you need to work in the industry as an engineer, producer, writer, again, with proof and credentials and recommendations and all these things. So back when I was a little baby artist and I didn't have anything to my name, no music, no nothing. But I knew I wanted to be near all of this. I understood that there's power in proximity. And if I could get into the right rooms, I could start making the right moves. And the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Am I right? So at the time, I actually had a business in the music industry that started out because I was performing at the time, and I noticed that when I would try to sing and dance at the same time, I'd get out of breath. I wasn't as coordinated as I wanted to be, and I wanted a place to rehearse singing and dancing at the same time. And so I joined a dance class, but you can't sing in those. And yeah, I could dance and sing at home, but it's not the same, not in front of an audience. By yourself, the energy is different. I could run on a treadmill and sing, that builds stamina, but it's just not the same as putting it all together. But I couldn't afford a personal choreographer and coach. So I was like, what if I rent out like a dance studio and I find a choreographer who has experience in this, and I get some students who need this too, because all artists need this kind of thing. Like, what do you think Lady Gaga, Beyonce, all those people who sing and dance at the same time, they work with choreographers and they have all the specialized training. And I thought that would be really valuable for indie artists. So I started the Ultimate Entertainer Workshop, and I found a rehearsal studio. I found choreographer who had experience with touring artists to train us all what to do. I got wireless microphones so we could sing live in the class while dancing, which is so important. We ended up bringing in producers to record the artists, and we did media training, and it became this whole thing. And I got to attend and get all this training for free because I started the business. And so the students that came on, they're the ones that funded it all. And then I got to attend. So I was like, awesome, win-win. They're winning, I'm winning, we're all winning. So this thing had its moment in time and took off a bit. And so now I had a roster of artists that we were developing, and I was able to get the credits that I needed. And so I was in. So I applied to the Recording Academy and I got accepted as an industry professional. And so those were my credentials for the longest time. And so during all this time when I had this business, I was still steadily working on my career, building my own credentials so I could enter the academy as an artist. And lo and behold, that moment came not long ago. So I ended up leaving that initial business behind because it did take up a lot of my time, and I wanted to focus that on my own career. So fast forward, I got accepted into the academy as an artist because I finally got the credentials that I needed that once seemed like such a big task and undertaking. And I got accepted, and this past voting season was the first time I got to vote in the Grammys, which was amazing. And I voted for all indie artists, of course. And so now the Grammys are coming up, and I'm like, great, I'm a voting member now, and I'm an artist. I would love to go, but I don't know, just budget wise, it wasn't really in the cards for me. Even though you get invited to the Grammys, you still need to pay for a ticket. And then there's dress costs, travel, hotel, Ubering to and from the venue, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what, let me sit out this year and I'll come back next year even stronger. And so I was confident in my decision, but then I found out two of my really good friends and colleagues that I've worked with and that I love dearly, singer friends, females, amazing, love them so much, found out that they got accepted to the Academy as well. And they were attending the Grammys for the first time this year, which you can't redo the first time. I mean, that moment is just so incredible. I remember I bawled my eyes out when I first attended the Grammys. It was so special. And I wanted to be there with them. And I was like, dang it, but I missed my window to get the tickets. And I was like, And so I was kind of bummed about it for a second, but then I was like, no, wait a minute. Over here, we're all about manifesting our best and highest good at all times. So I'm like, I'm not going to take no for an answer, universe. I'm going to the Grammys somehow, some way. And I don't want it to cost much at all. So I ended up just putting the feelers out there, putting some irons in the fire, making some connections, sending out some emails, like doing whatever I could. And then I let it sit with the universe. And I started to visualize in the meantime. Every night when I went to bed, I would visualize myself walking into that venue, parking in the parking garage, having fun, being able to post about it, being able to tell this story to you guys, all these things. And I just kept visualizing it. Somehow, some way, it's going to happen. And then Wednesday morning, 4 days before the Grammys, I get an email that says that I've been invited to the dress rehearsal. I'm like, what? I didn't even realize that was a thing, that you could do that. But the universe knew and it made it happen. And it ended up being so much more aligned with this moment in my life because I feel like I've really needed to see the Grammys from that angle. Previously, when I was in the mainstream industry doing my thing like I thought you needed to do in all the right ways, I was miserable and the industry chewed me up and spit me out. It didn't accept the type of music I was making or singing about. I just got ridiculed left and right. What I wore didn't work. Like nothing I wanted to do seemed aligned with me when I was in the industry then. So I didn't feel like a Grammy or anything like that was possible for me. But now I feel like the world is changing. You know how they say when you change, because I left the industry and started making manifestation music unapologetically, even though they said I could never make it with that kind of stuff. But I changed. And they say when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. And it's true. I feel like the industry really is changing. I mean, there's an entire category for my type of music, for manifestation, all that kind of stuff. And so now I have so much more belief that it's possible to actually win a Grammy for, you know, the affirmation song. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it. It just feels so much more possible. And I think that's why this manifestation came true. And in this way, it put me at the dress rehearsal because it felt like I was just a part of the process. Like I was there preparing myself for the moment when it's my moment. I got to see the crew setting up, how the artists are entering, how they're exiting, like what's going on, the entire dress rehearsal. I saw the entire show from top to bottom, and it was so incredibly inspiring and such a unique experience. And in this time in my life, even better than the main ceremony. And I wish I had some footage for you guys, but they were very strict about taking pictures or videos or anything like that, which I totally understand because all of the artists didn't have any makeup on. They're there in rehearsal mode. They had their outfits on, which is really cool to see. And where I was sitting was the aisle right before, you know, they come out and hit the stage or the areas that they're going to perform at. So I was just like casually hanging out, like looking over, and there's Lady Gaga, and there's Bruno Mars, and there's Chappell Roan, and they all had such great energy. That's one feeling I got from that experience. I know the industry has a bad rap, and I know I've been in it. There's a lot of really sucky parts about it. But in that moment, that day, you could just feel the good energy in the room. And it was just so amazing to be a part of that and to be able to see everyone in go mode, in rehearsal mode. And it was awesome to see even the logistics of it all, seeing the crew break down and set up those elaborate sets in 3-minute increments. Like in the commercial break is when they do all of that, and they have it down to a science. Just all of it, the instruments, the plugs, the microphones, like it's just up and down, boom. Even how they timed how they would announce the winners. So they'd be like, okay, so the Grammy goes to, for this rehearsal only, they said that every time, this rehearsal only, the Grammy goes to Taylor Swift. And then one of the crew members would come up to the stage and pretend to be Taylor Swift and give an actual speech. And all of the speeches were so funny. Just like, thank you so much. Oh my God, I can't believe I won this award, mainly because I'm not a singer and I just work here. And everybody was just in in such good spirits. I didn't see any bad attitudes anywhere, which is really nice to see because you get this idea of the industry. And again, like I said, having been in it, it is kind of crazy and kind of sad. And I've been told the rudest things in professional settings. But in this setting, with the crew and the artists and it basically just being them and some of us there, watching and being a part of it, it just all felt like a family and it felt really good. So I was excited to be able to see that and feel that from that angle. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed from the day that was just really awesome. I made some really great connections. I met, various board members and some delightful people that I was sitting next to that invited me to floor seats next year. So fingers crossed that comes to fruition. Because normally, again, I'm up in the nosebleeds, which is okay. But yeah, all in all, it was just an incredible experience. And for anyone listening, if you've made it this far, I hope this inspired you in some way to stay in the stream of your dreams. And if you feel like you're in the nosebleed section of your goals, don't get discouraged. I promise you that with aligned action, visualizing, acting as if, wake up, what would the person who's living their dream life do? What would they say? How would they speak to themselves? Really just putting yourself in that space of your actual dream life. Doing all these things will help you get to center stage of your goals as well. And if you need help or moral support, join me on my Discord. The link is in my bio. I'm in there every single day, working side by side along with you, making all this stuff happen. I talk about it on there before I talk about it on here. I'm a little late to posting what's going on in my life on here, but I'm in Discord every single day. So I would love to see you there. And I would also love to know what you're working on. Drop it in the comments below. I love hearing what you're working on manifesting and hearing your stories.